Hello bookworms! I just got back home from BookCon a mere 20 minutes ago, and I am very excited to be here to show you guys everything that I got at BookExpo and BookCon this year. I had a lot of fun. It was a super great event as always. I just really love being there with all of the other book lovers and getting to spend time with friends and obviously getting lots of books that I'm planning on reading now over the summer. Yeah, I'm just really happy, and thank you so much everyone who came up and said hello to me during BookCon. It was so nice to meet all of you and chat about books and stuff. I don't want to do too much of an intro because I've got a lot of books to show you what else is new. But first I'm going to be showing you all of the books that I got, and then I'm going to show you some of the swag that I got from the event as well. So the first book that I actually acquired during this whole week of BookExpo is one that I am so very excited to read, and it is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This is one of the ones that was on my most anticipated list, and it is the conclusion to Strange the Dreamer, which came out last year. I loved that book, like beyond belief. I read the entire thing on my 9-hour flight home from Alaska, and it was a red eye, and I am someone that needs sleep, so that just shows you like how into it I was. But I got to attend a tea at the novel offices on Wednesday, and Laini was there, and she told us a bit about her process behind writing Muse of Nightmares and Strange the Dreamer, and I took some clips of it, so that will be up in my BookExpo vlog, which will be going up a little bit later on this week. But so excited to get this one, and Laini, since she was there, was kind enough to sign them for us, so it says for Kristen, Laini Taylor. Cannot wait to read this one. And this one actually comes out in October of 2018, so you're not gonna be waiting super long for it, which is good. Next up, also from the novel, I have The Wicked King by Holly Black, and this book was one of, I think, everybody's most anticipated for BookExpo. So they didn't actually do a time where they dropped an arc of the book. They tweeted out a password, and the password ended up being Nothing's Fair and Fairy, and you had to get to the novel booth and tell them the password, and then they would give you a copy of the book. I kind of went slowly over because I really wanted my own copy of this, obviously, but I have read it and I loved it. It was amazing. Now I can give Monica her copy back. I was walking around with my friend Jane of It's Jane Lindsay, and I told her, like, you go, because she needs to read it and I need someone to talk about it with, so it was like perfect. But she kind of got swept away in that crowd, and she said that there were like moments where both of her feet were not on the floor because that is how intense it was for people gunning for The Wicked King, and can tell you that it's worth it. I absolutely love this book. It is the second book after The Cruel Prince, so it continues on the story of Jude and Cardan and all of the different antics that are going on in Elfhame. This one comes out in January of 2019, so it's a bit of a longer wait, but it is so worth it, and it gives you time to read The Cruel Prince once again in the meantime while you wait for it. And then speaking of chaotic lines, the last book that I got actually at BookCon is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I had been really excited for this one. I'm actually currently in the middle of reading Uprooted, and I am obsessed with it, to say the least. This book is actually set in the same universe as Uprooted, but it is a totally different story. This one is inspired by Rumpelstiltskin, and there is a girl who's able to turn silver into gold, and she's going to need to help her kingdom out, and it just, if it's anything like Uprooted, I know that I'm going to love it. I'm really excited to read this book, and like I said, Rumpelstiltskin retelling, it sounds like it's going to be absolutely incredible, and I love Naomi Novik's writing, so I cannot wait to read this one. And this one is actually even a shorter wait. It comes out on July 10th, so it's like available very soon. Then from Fierce Reads, I was able to get the King of Scars sampler by Leigh Bardugo, which is extremely shiny, which I'm sure that you can see. I have to finish reading the Grisha trilogy, but I am excited to have this one to dive into once I finish, because I still have to read the second 2 books, so I actually haven't even met Nikolai yet. Everyone tells me that he's gonna be my favorite character, which I believe, and it's nice to know that like I'll be able to have a little taste of it before the book actually comes out. King of Scars doesn't actually go on sale until January 30th of next year, but I will probably need this time to read the other two Grisham books, so that works out perfectly for me. Next, I have Escaping Houdini by Kerri Maniscalco. This is the third book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. Follows our main characters, Miss Audrey Rose and Mr. Thomas Cresswell, and I love them so much. I'm so excited to read this one. I absolutely loved Stalking Jack the Ripper, and then I loved Hunting Prince Dracula, especially that ending, like, so much, and I've pretty much been dying for this book ever since. This, obviously, we have a new mystery going on, and it is escaping from Houdini, based on Harry Houdini, and there's a cruise ship, and the fact that it takes place in like old school New York City is something that just like really speaks to my heart, so I'm very much looking forward to diving into this one. This book comes out in September of 2018. Then another book that I was very highly anticipating that I am so glad that I got is Wild Card by Marie Lu. I was fortunate enough to be third in line for the signing for this book. I waited that long. It is the conclusion to Warcross, which, if you'll remember, that was the first book that I read after BookExpo last year, and it was one of my favorite books of the year. I loved it so much. So Wildcard is going to be the first arc that I read once I finish filming this video. I have like 40 pages left in Thunderhead, and then I am immediately jumping into this one because I need to know how this story is going to be tied up. The next book that I got is, again, another very anticipated one, and that is What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. I actually have not read any of Adam's books, but I have loved each and every one of Becky's books, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I know that they each took a character. There's a main character named Ben and a main character named Arthur. Arthur is only in New York for the summer, and he is a Broadway play addict, relatable. And Ben seems a little bit more like a cynical character, and the two of them end up having a meet cute at a post office, and it is about the two of them kind of getting together. So I'm really excited to read this. I know that both Becky and Adam tend to have very different tones and endings for their books, so I'm curious to see how their writing together is going to work and which direction the story is going to go in. I know that I'll probably cry though. And this one comes out in October. The next book that I have is enormous, and it is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Just look at this like giant brick of a book. It is huge. I got this on the first day, and I was like, I'm glad that I got it now so that I can not carry it for the rest of the convention because it is just so big and heavy. So Samantha Shannon is the author of the Bone Season, but this is actually not the fourth Bone Season book. This is the first book in a new series that she's working on, and it is an epic fantasy novel. It's about a world that is on the brink of war with dragons, and as you can see, there is this absolutely beautiful blue dragon on the cover. That is honestly what initially drew me to this. As soon as I saw it online, I was like, I know that I'm going for that one. That is incredible. Not only is the world on the brink of war with dragons, but it's actually the females that need to save the world. So it sounds like it's going to be very feminist and very awesome. And it says that the kingdom is actually a queendom. So I'm already like extremely interested just by that. So the queen actually needs to conceive a daughter so that there is an heir to the throne, and she's being protected by this ancient and forbidden magic. It also follows a dragon rider who lives across the sea that needs to make like a very difficult choice, and it seems like the East and West will need to come together in order to stop the dragon war, but they are not at all willing to do so because they are already at war themselves. So it just sounds like there's going to be a lot of conflict. It's going to be really interesting and very in-depth. I am really looking forward to diving into this one and spending like a lot of time just being in the world, because I would imagine it is extremely fleshed out with this page count. And The Priory of the Orange Tree comes out in March of 2019, so you've got a bit of time. Next, I have The Last Life of Prince Alistair by Alexandra Bracken. This is actually the second book and the conclusion to the dreadful tale of Prosper Redding. It's a middle grade novel, and it is very creepy. It takes place in Salem, Massachusetts. And it's definitely a kind of like spookier story, and it follows a boy who is cursed. It's just so good. Like, I'm really not very much of a middle grade fan, but I really enjoyed that book, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it's going to conclude. I think that I was so into it, especially because it's like a really good book for Halloween and for like getting in the mood of fall. So I'm probably gonna save this one until closer to like the end of the summer. Oh wow, it actually doesn't come out until February of next year, which I did not realize because the last one came out in October of last year. But then I'll probably read it like October-ish because it's honestly like perfect for that time frame. And I really, really love the cover that was just released like earlier in the week. I can't wait. And there's this little bat cat down here who is like my favorite. The next book that I picked up is Campfire by Sean Sarles, and this one sounds exactly like Are You Afraid of the Dark to me, and that was why I picked it up. Like, I read the synopsis and I was like, oh my gosh, this just sounds like so perfect. It's another one that's going to be really good for like October to get into the spirit of Halloween, but it actually comes out in mid-July, so you'll be able to get your hands on this one very soon. It follows a girl named Maddie who gathers her friends and family around a campfire to tell scary stories, and the legend that she shares is the one of the mountain men. The mountain men actually hunt unsuspecting campers, and then they have like a signature thing that they do by like carving antlers into the heads of those people, and that sounds really scary. But of course, the day after Maddie tells this story, the legend starts becoming true, and they become hunted by the mountain men, and they're basically like living their worst nightmare. But it sounds like it's gonna be really entertaining, and I'm excited. The next book that I have is The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. This is by Kirsten White, and it comes out this September. It's actually like not as long as I was expecting, but the cover of this is gorgeous. I'm not sure if you can see, I'm trying to like move it around, but it's very like shimmery and pearlized, and I am so excited to see what it actually looks like when it's in its finished copy. And I was talking to the lovely people from this imprint, and they were telling me that this stitching here in Frankenstein is actually like real stitching that they did on a canvas and then recreated to use here as the book cover, and there's a video that you can watch about the process on their social media, so you should definitely check that out because it was super interesting. But this follows a girl named Elizabeth who meets Victor Frankenstein, and then she does everything that she possibly can to get in with his family and make herself indispensable to them, and she does a great job of it, and her and Victor become inseparable. But as the years continue to go on, Victor kind of seems to get a little bit more dangerous, and Elizabeth's survival kind of depends on her managing Victor's temper, and she has to do whatever she possibly can to survive, and it just sounds like she is going to be like a super awesome character and very interesting and very manipulative, and it sounds like it's going to be such an exciting story. Next, I have A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This book comes out in January of 2019, and this sounds like it is definitely inspired by Beauty and the Beast. It follows a guy named Prince Ren, and he is under a terrible curse where he has to live out the 18th year of his autumn just over and over and over. But little does he know that at the end of that 18th year, he is going to turn into like a vicious beast. And then it also follows a girl named Harper Lacey who actually suffers from cerebral palsy, and when she tries to save someone on the streets in Washington DC, she somehow ends up getting sucked into this world with Prince Ren's curse, and all she knows is that she has to break the curse and save this kingdom, but she's also having difficulty believing that anything that has just happened to her is real. But apparently there are powerful forces behind this curse in the world of Emberfall, and even if they break the curse, it sounds like they're still gonna have a little bit of a battle before the kingdom is actually safe. So this just immediately intrigued me, and I really love this cover. And I love fairy tale retellings. I'm very much looking forward to reading this one. Next, I've got Dry by Neil and Jared Schusterman. This book comes out in October. This follows a girl named Alyssa who lives in California, and there has been a drought that has been going on there for a very long time, and there's lots of rules about how long of a shower you're allowed to take and like how much tap water you're allowed to use. Then one day, all of the taps just completely run dry. So it sounds like it's gonna be a like kind of dystopian type story, and normally I'm not very interested in those, but I am reading Thunderhead right now by Neil Schusterman, and it's amazing. So I am never going to not try a new book of his again. Scythe and Thunderhead are absolutely incredible. So as soon as I heard that he was coming out with a new book, I knew that I had to get my hands on it and read it. And I cannot wait to do so. Then another sequel that I was able to get is The Devil's Thief by Lisa Maxwell. So if you remember the book The Last Magician, that was originally a standalone novel, and it follows a magician in New York City in like the early 1900s. And I haven't finished reading it yet, but I did read the beginning of it and I really, really loved it. So once I found out that there was a second book, I was like, I need to get this and I need to finish reading the first one so that I can read this second one. I'm really excited that it got expanded because I really enjoyed what I did read of the first one. So I feel like this has potential to be like a new favorite series. This one, The Devil's Thief, comes out in October. Then I have Imprison the Sky by A.C. Goggin. So as you may know, I enjoyed reading the first book, Reign of the Earth, but it wasn't my favorite. But the second book is a companion novel, so it's actually following a different character. And this character, for those who don't know, this series is about elemental magic, and that is why I was so interested in it to begin with. But the second book follows a girl who's able to control the air, and it sounds like the characters from the first book will kind of be involved, and I know that it's going to be building to some kind of epic thing between the queen and the queen's horrible husband. And I really want to continue because I just really want to see him like taken down and see revenge taken on him. So as soon as I saw that they were giving this away, I was like, I should get one of those. This book comes out in January of 2019. Then I have a Quirk Books book that I am super excited for. It is called Paperback Crush. And if you remember last year, they did that book called Paperbacks from Hell. And it was pretty much like a very in-depth look at the history of the covers of horror novels. So this is essentially the same thing, except it is about like the books that I grew up reading, like Babysitter's Club and Sweet Valley High, and like all of the series that really got me to love reading the way that I love reading now. So as soon as I heard about this, I was like so excited, and I really love that the cover of this even looks like it would be the cover of like a Babysitter's Club novel. It is so amazing, and I am so excited to read this. When I got it, the author was actually in the booth, and she signed it for me, and she was wearing a Sweet Valley High dress, and I was just like, you're amazing. This book comes out in November of this year, so I would say that this is actually like a really good gift idea for Christmas if you know anyone else who grew up reading like Babysitter's Club and Sweet Valley High. It's kind of perfect. The next book that I have is actually a graphic novel, and it is Check Please. This is by Ngozi Ukazu. I am really excited to read this. I tend not to like sports things, but I've had so many friends like beg me to read this series and tell me how much I would love it, and all it took was just seeing this boy holding a pie on the cover. I was like, okay, I like pie. So one of my friends explained it further to me, my friend Jane, and it's about a guy who plays on a hockey team and he's not out yet, and he also has a YouTube channel where he like is a baker and makes pies and stuff. So not only is there hockey, but there is a lot about like baking and pies, and I am so here for that. So I cannot wait to read this one. I'm sure that I'll read this like in a night since it's a graphic novel. It was actually a webcomic, and now it is being collected by First Second into a volume of graphic novels. So I'm not sure if there's actually more that goes past this first collection, but either way, I'm like very much looking forward to reading it. Next, I have Never Contented Things by Sarah Porter. All I really know about this one is that it is a novel of fairy, and you guys know how much I love fairies. So when I saw that Owl Crate was giving away this new book, I was like, I am on board. I need to like be there for that drop so I can get this. I'm really excited about it. It comes out in winter of 2019, and it says, be the first to encounter these dark fairies. It also says seductive, cruel, and dangerous, which sounds like everything that I love. And I believe that it's about two humans who enter this world of fairy, and the prince kind of becomes obsessed with them, and then they quickly learn that fairies never give gifts for free, and there is always a price attached to whatever you are promised. Then I have The Art of Losing by Lizzie Mason. This is Lizzie's debut novel, and I'm so pleased to say that I was like the third in line to get this one, and her line was so long, and I'm so excited because Lizzie is so nice. I actually did a panel with her at BEA in 2016, I believe, in Chicago, and that's where I first met her. And once I read the synopsis of her novel, I was like, whoa, this just sounds like it is going to rip my heart into a million pieces, but like in a good way. So it follows a girl who is at this party, and then she goes outside and she ends up seeing her little sister and her boyfriend making out and cheating on her, and obviously she is not happy about that, so she kind of like goes off on her sister, and then obviously like leaves the party. But then later her now ex-boyfriend is driving her little sister home, and he is drunk driving, and they get into a car accident, and her little sister enters a coma. And now our main character, Harley, is like stuck with all of these like intense feelings of guilt because she just like, the last experience that she had with her sister was her like yelling at her. Meanwhile, her ex-boyfriend got through everything completely unscathed and like clearly has a drinking problem. And it just honestly sounds like it's going to be so good, and I cannot wait to read it. And this one comes out in January of 2019. Then I've got Rule by Ellen Goodlett. This one comes out in September, and it follows three sisters who are all vying for the same throne, and each of them is being blackmailed, so they all think that it's like one of the other sisters that is the blackmailer, but then it turns out that it's not, and it's someone else. And this one is being compared to Three Dark Crowns and Pretty Little Liars. So this honestly sounds like something that I'm really going to love, because while I did really enjoy Three Dark Crowns, it was a little bit slower paced for me. Like there were portions of it that I really loved, but it definitely took me a while to read. And this sounds like it's going to be a little bit like quicker paced, especially if it's being compared to Pretty Little Liars. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. And it also says that it has like a little dash of King Lear in there as well. So it just like sounds very, very promising. Then I've got Grace and Fury by Tracy Banghart. This one comes out next month in July. And this one is for fans of The Selection and Caraval. So I'm expecting that there's going to be like very lush descriptions of the world and the clothing, and I just honestly eat that stuff up. It follows two girls who are sisters. One of them lives in the palace and one of them is imprisoned. So it seems like one sister was kind of like groomed to be a Grace and be in the royal world and at the palace and everything, but her other sister ends up catching the eye of the prince, and then Serena ends up taking the fall for her younger sister Naomi's secret that she's been hiding, and she needs to do whatever she can to save her sister, and it sounds like it's gonna be really good. Then I've got Girls of Paper and Fire, and this is another... all of my books just fell over. This is another very shiny cover, and I'm really looking forward to reading this one. This is by Natasha Negan. Probably not saying that right. It comes out in October of 2018. It follows a girl named Leigh who is part of the paper cast, and she catches the eye of the king, and she is taken from her home to the oppressive palace, and her life pretty much now belongs to the king. But Leigh ends up falling in love with the king, and then she kind of needs to figure out whether she is going to go on with this potential rebellion that will threaten the king's reign and save the rest of the world, or if she's going to maybe get her happy ending in a love story. And it definitely sounds like it's going to be really interesting. Next, I have Seafire by Natalie C. Parker, and this one I'm very interested in because it is about lady pirates. This book comes out in August of this year. It follows a girl named Caledonia whose entire family is killed by a corrupt warlord, and then she has to plot her way across the sea, captaining her own ship with a crew of all women and girls, each of which has been personally affected by this warlord. And then her best friend barely survives this attack that happens, all thanks to the help of this one guy, and Caledonia is very uncertain of whether she should let him join their crew to try to take down the warlord, or if she should keep it as all females. So it sounds like there's going to be a lot of like feminist themes in here, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading it. Then I've got Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. This book comes out in October, and it is a new fantasy novel about shapeshifters and Japanese legends. So I am like 100% here for this. Then I've got Broken Things by Lauren Oliver. This book also comes out in October. So this book takes place, there's a girl that was murdered in the woods 5 years earlier named Summer, and everyone thinks that her two best friends were responsible for it, but no one is really certain exactly what happened all those years ago. So it takes place part in the present and partially in the past. What's happening in the present is that the two girls are brought together again and forced to kind of confront these things that happened. And the really interesting thing is that part of what has driven them even being in the woods at that point was their love of this fantasy series. And they kind of imagined themselves into this fantasy world where reality ended up getting twisted. And it definitely sounds like it's going to be a page turner and have a lot of like twists and turns. And I'm really looking forward to reading my first Lauren Oliver book ever, because I haven't read anything that she has written. So I'm very much looking forward to this. Then I've got Sea Witch by Sarah Henning, and this is a Little Mermaid retelling, except instead of focusing on the Little Mermaid, it follows Ursula the Sea Witch. And it follows a girl named Evie whose best friend drowned in the ocean, and she's always been kind of an outcast ever since then. But then she meets this person who looks exactly like, so she thinks that her best friend has actually survived, and she ends up helping her. She can't stay there until she has Evie's help because she is not actually a human. She's trying to save her friend's humanity, but obviously there is some evil at work there since her friend is probably the Sea Witch. Then I have The Girl King by Mimi Yu. This one comes out in January of 2019. It follows two sisters who become rivals in order to gain the title of emperor. Sounds like there are also actually shapeshifters within this story, and what happens is one of the girls is basically groomed to become the emperor since she was very young, and then her father betrays her and he names her male cousin the king, and she needs to go and reclaim her throne and her birthright, and she needs an ally to do so. This is another sampler that I happened to pick up today. This is actually a little sampler to the second book in the Bells series, so I'm pretty excited about that. I did not know that there was a title yet, but I think it is very, very fitting for the series. Then I have The Boneless Mercies by April Genevieve Tolk. This book comes out in October, and this is a Beowulf retelling. All the piles just keep falling. Oh, not only is it a retelling of Beowulf, it's actually a gender-flipped retelling, so that's even more enticing. And for those who don't know, Beowulf is a Norse poem. Frey is a boneless mercy, which means that she's a member of an ancient female society that managed to survive the rising and falling of different kingdoms. Sounds very intriguing. This is actually the first book that I picked up when we walked onto the expo hall on Thursday morning. It's The Sisters of the Winter Wood by Rena Rosner. This one comes out in September. It follows two sisters who live kind of on the outskirts of Ukraine, and then a troop of mysterious men arrive and one of the sisters falls underneath their spell, and then dark forces kind of move to close in on their village, and the girls end up discovering a secret about their past, and it sounds very intriguing. And this one is actually an adult fantasy, and I just love anything that has magic and like the sense of fairy tales to it, so I think that I'm really gonna love this one. Then I've got What We Buried by Kate A. Borman. This one comes out in February of 2019, and it's a young adult thriller, and it says that it is like One of Us Is Lying meets The Leftovers, and it's about a brother and sister who are forced to find their missing parents. Then I've got Black Wings Beating by Alex London. This one comes out in October of 2019, and it follows a pair of siblings, one of which embraces their heritage of being a falconer and the other one who completely rejects it. But there's a war that is kind of closing in on their village, and the twins need to journey outside and find and trap the ghost eagle in order to secure their future, and it sounds like it's gonna be really good. This is a new fantasy novel, obviously. Then I've got A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney. This one comes out in September, and this one is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, and it follows a girl named Alice, obviously, but she goes into Wonderland and uses magical weapons to fight these creatures called nightmares, all while juggling an overprotective mom and trying to maintain her GPA in the real world, and she lives in Atlanta. And then her mentor for keeping the nightmares at bay is mysteriously poisoned, and Alice has to delve deeper and deeper into Wonderland in order to get to the root of the problem. Then I've got Aquacorn Cove. This is by Katie O'Neill, and you may recognize Katie from the Tea Dragon Society, which is like a very, very cute graphic novel. But this is her second graphic novel and is actually about unicorns, and I'm really excited, and I really love her artwork style. You can just see like how colorful and beautiful it is. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Like, I might read it tomorrow, I think. But it actually comes out in October in case you are interested in picking up a copy for yourself. Then I've got Unclaimed Baggage by Jen Dahl, and this is a contemporary novel. It comes out in September, and it follows a guy and a girl who end up working at this very strange store called Unclaimed Baggage, where they catalog and sell other people's lost luggage. And they end up sparking a friendship with one another and learning about each other's pasts and hopefully finding a way to cope with their futures. So first I have this Now We Rise poster, which is based on Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, which I actually still have to get a finished copy of. I read the ARC version and I need to go and get, I think the Barnes & Noble exclusive version is what I'm gonna go for. Excited about this. Then I have this sleep mask that I got in honor of Muse of Nightmares, and it says, "In dreams I could bring myself back to life. Muse of Nightmares, Laini Taylor." Then I have a Wicked King pocket mirror, and it says, "We get power by taking it, the Wicked King," and it has like the cover of the Wicked King kind of around there. I also ran into Brittany from Novel Yours, and she said that if you saw her on the floor to ask her for a little treat, so I did, and I got a bookworm candle, and it smells like crisp apple, blood orange, and green tea, and it is amazing. I'm so glad that I ended up getting this. Then Out of Print Clothing recently released Harry Potter t-shirts for the first 3 books in the series, so I got myself the first shirt of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I know that I'm going to end up getting all of them, but I figured I would start with the first one, and then they actually said that in September they're going to be releasing books 4 through 7, so we'll be able to get all of them before Christmas, which is very exciting. They do run a little bit on the smaller side, so you should probably get like 1 size up from what you normally get. I also got this super cute Penguin Teen t-shirt that I'm really excited about. It's so bright and it's really, really soft, so I'm definitely gonna be wearing this in my apartment like 24/7. I also got this poster from Fierce Reads. I'll just cover my face, that's fine. But it's all artwork from Marissa Meyer's Renegade series. So it's all done by Kevin Wada also, who is just amazing when it comes to artwork. Then I got this adorable tote bag from Quirk Books, and it says, "I've got a Paperback Crush." They always kill it with tote bags. They're like the one booth where I'm like, yeah, I need to see what their tote bag is this year, and it's always great. I still have them like going years back, and I definitely have done many tote bag cleanouts since then. Then I have these really cute buttons from Fierce Reads. These ones are based on I Believe in a Thing Called Love by Maureen Gu. And these ones are from Swoon Reads, and they're just awesome, like the YA and Slay one. I love it. And Treat Your Shelf. All about that life. Then I got these really cute Girls Resist stickers from Quirk Books. I also got the first 2 issues of the Sartorial Geek from Jordan Dene. I have often talked about her t-shirts because they're amazing, but she also started a magazine now that she has been printing, and this is the 2nd issue, and I'm obsessed with the artwork because it's by Jen Bartel, so Jen actually did this for them, and there's a lot of her artwork in here, so I'm really looking forward to like actually sitting down and reading this once I am like in relaxing mode from this past weekend. Then I've got a little Fierce Reads tote, and on the back of it, it says "My favorite author said to me," so you can kind of like write it in and then have memories of different conversations that you've had with authors that you've met, which I think is a very good idea. Or you could fill it with quotes from your favorite books, also, whatever works for you. And I have a tote from Little Brown, and this one has a bookshelf on it, so it's super cute. I also was lucky enough to get the really long Harry Potter poster that has all of the artwork from the new covers that were drawn by Brian Selznick. I'm really excited to get this collection once it comes out, and I didn't realize that all of the covers were interconnected since I saw them separately, but now I'm even more excited about it, because really, I need more Harry Potter books. I also have a Dear Evan Hansen pin that says You Will Be Found. I also have a Harry Potter enamel pin that says Harry Potter 20 Years of Magic. It's so cute. I have a little sampler of the Mean Girls cookbook, and I just love that it looks like the burn book. I think that's so perfect. And this is not a book at all. It's just the Quirk Books catalog, but I just love the design of it, so I wanted to show it. It makes me like want to watch Saved by the Bell immediately because it just like screams 80s. Then I have an I Love Audiobooks tote bag from Penguin Random House, and I love it. They also gave me some headphones so that I could listen to audiobooks. I have a book nerd pin, a Books Before Bros hat, and a really cute map of New York City. There's this book coming out over here called Social Creature, and it sounds really good because it's kind of like Gossip Girl-like, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading it, so this like kind of went along with that. And then, I totally forgot to show this comic, but it is called Spectacle by Megan Rose Gertis, and I was like, that looks like the Night Circus. I will need that, so I got a copy of this. I also got this tote bag from the novel, which I've always wanted. It says Booked All Week. Very, very cute, and I love that it has pink on it. And that is finally it. That is all the things that I got. This is going to be the longest video in the world, and I am not at all looking forward to editing it for the next like 5 hours, but I'm going to be posting it tonight. I love to get it up as soon as I can for you guys because I know you all look forward to this video. So I hope that you enjoyed this, especially if you stuck with me all the way to the end because there were a lot of books to go through. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and my Book Expo and BEA vlog will be coming out later this week, so look for that. Bye!